Hey guys, before we get started, I want to say that it helps a lot if you press the like and subscribe buttons, so if you could take a couple seconds to do that, I'd really appreciate it. Enjoy the show.
We have, how do you say it? Cucumber.
I'm really lucky that I grew up speaking 2 languages, and I'm trying to raise my kids so that they speak 2 languages too. And that's something that's very important for me, especially having my family abroad. Oh, she's a white girl? Yes, I am a white girl. My family is white.
I hadn't actually really seen too much stuff on it before the show because I kind of wanted to get a cold take of that. I'm pretty convinced that that's, I'm 100% convinced that that's not a real accent. But it makes you really curious, like, psychology-wise, why?
I think the tea for this episode is...
Wait, that's a good point. What are we drinking for tea?
Oh, right. I'm drinking raspberry.
Passion fruit.
Passion for me as well. We didn't even plan it.
It's like you're married
Cut
or
that
something.
It's like we're somewhere.
What did you find in your readings about this?
So, for me, I feel like the tea this episode is it real? Last episode was kind of like, okay, whose side are you on? Gabby Hanna? Are you with the internet? Are you with Trisha Paytas? This episode is more like, is this actually legit? Is she actually lying to the world?
Yeah.
I think it's fake.
Oh, I 100% think it's fake.
I think most people do at this point.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's more like, why? I think you said this.
What's her motive?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that's really confusing.
What do you think her motive is?
To give herself something about herself, and I know this is going to sound awful, but to give herself something about herself that makes her interesting.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
That makes her a character, which is really genuinely sad, but am I wrong? Do you think that's a bad way of framing it?
No.
What I will give her, and I don't think this is what she's doing, is I know that, whenever I've gone so many places, but when I went to Austria, I remember when I was talking to people, my voice, got, the slightest accent to it. And I wasn't trying to do it.
Was it a German accent?
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me in Ireland,
Interesting.
and I wasn't trying.
Yeah. But she's, claiming it. She's not even,
She's not being honest about it.
Well,
Yeah.
her story is falling apart from different accounts of her own record. I mean, you don't exactly forget the place you were born. And she's saying on her Twitter, I was born in Boston. She's saying in interviews, I was born in Spain. She's all over the place.
Yeah, she's not a very good liar.
Here's what I think happened. I think one time, 10 years ago, she told a white lie, thought it would never be, turned into anything. And then she met Alec Baldwin.
So this is basically just a Seinfeld episode?
Yeah, she had to stick to it for the next...
Oh, good question. Do you think Alan Baldwin knows it's fake?
He seems convinced.
He does. But he also said, you defend the people you love. Which makes me think, maybe
he's covering for her?
But he's covering for her.
My thing is, at this point, just be honest. We all know what kind of person not only lies about something like this, but also when they're found out, kind of still
Who goes with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you still defending it?
There was actually a movie about this. Did you guys ever watch Just Go With It? I think it's Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they basically start lying, and then they just have to keep the lies going.
Yeah.
Is it with Adam Sandler?
I think
Yes.
I think I saw that.
This is basically a real-life version of Just Go With It.
The research that I did, there was people from a couple years back were no. I worked with her. She's never lived in Spain. She's not from Spain. None of this is true. Her parents, I think, live in Spain now. They found the DNA testing on her parents, and it goes back they've been in America for generations.
So she's straight
So-
up just
She's straight
white
up
American.
An American.
The tea that I got was that, so she was actually born in Boston. Not only that, she was born in Boston with the name Hillary. Her actual birth name was Hillary. In 2009, she changed it to Hilaria.
So she's committed.
Oh, she's committed, Jerry.
Can you imagine knowing that person and just watching them slowly
And just having to go with it.
On national TV.
My favorite thing is that there are people who talk about the fact that she's potentially, because she claims to be 36.
Well, is that even true at this point?
A lot of people think she's a decade older.
No. So basically her whole life is potentially a lie. That's rough.
I just love what...
That is rough.
I think we saw the interview where she was with Wendy Williams, and she was like, it was so weird that he was hitting on me, because of such the age gap, which I kind of agree with her.
Even if she's 10 years older, it's big.
If she's 36, he's 30 years older than her.
Can someone claim an accent and have an accent? Or is an accent defined as something you do involuntarily?
I think you can crank it up a little.
In the same way you can crank up a southern drawl.
But you wouldn't lie and tell people that you were born in the South.
Does your audience know where you live?
Oh,
What
Maine?
state?
Yeah, you can say Maine. It's
Okay.
fine.
And there's some people that we know who weren't born in this state.
Yeah.
And you hear their accent, like some of the words that they say come out. And maybe it used to be thicker. You know, like certain words will kind of
You're
trigger.
talking about people from like Latin America?
Like, no, even like New York or like New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can kind of hear
Yeah.
that come through. But I don't know if it's like sometimes every word is said in an accent and then other times.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
pretty consistent.
yeah.
Sometimes you'll change a word. Like when I speak Chinese, if I use an English word, I'll say it with a Chinese accent so it flows into the sentence better. So like I would say, oh, I saw this on YouTube, but I wouldn't say YouTube. I would say YouTuber.
Yeah.
Because it's just better for the flow. But even then, in that example, I think she would say Spanish words with an American accent, if it was that example. So who knows?
Yeah.
I think, like you said, the fact that it goes back and forth is the biggest giveaway.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
This brings up another person. Can you guess who it is? Let's guess who the fake is. You have 3 seconds.
Elizabeth Warren.
Interesting.
No, I can't. I don't know who you're.
Rachel Dolezal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Rachel Dolezal?
Okay, Rachel Dolezal was the president of, I think she was the president of the NAACP.
Sounds so familiar.
In an interview, this interviewer brought a picture of her parents and was like, "Are these your parents?" And she was confused and she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "They're white." And then apparently she just perms her hair, puts on a lot of tan, and she basically pretended to be African American. So I don't think that works.
The question is it okay? Because I understand why Hilaria would want to co-opt the entire Spanish culture because it makes her more mysterious and more interesting. People like that are oftentimes viewed as something new, something exciting, something different. So she fakes that and then she gets to fulfill that role, you know?
Yeah. People think of exoticism as like the good kind of racism,
Interesting.
right? Because it's attention.
Yeah.
But it's really not. Exoticism is pretty much like saying, because of what you look like or where you're from, you're special. And while the attention is nice, at the same time, you're excluded from daily discourse.
Apparently.
Is that okay?
I think the question that a lot of people would ask back, why would she want to? The place where I was a white minority. There were monetary privileges. So like if you teach English in Taiwan, you are legally entitled to double minimum wage.
Weird.
And I think that's to get more foreigners into the economy. You also experience a lot of exoticism. For example, I was at some events where people would take pictures of me with school children to make it look like the kids were having an international experience. Meanwhile, I didn't even know the kids.
Weird.
Like, I never even taught them.
Yeah.
I was just kind of pulled aside for a photo op. And I was at this one school where, like, it was a cooking school, and then they would take videos of me teaching the kids and, like, take pictures of me talking to the kids. And then they would make me, like, teach the kids how to cook something that I didn't even know how to cook, just so they could get a video of a white guy teaching them how to cook. And then everything was all done and the kids were sitting down to eat. And I'm like, okay, bye. And I'm like, do I get a plate?
That's
No,
weird.
because I'm just here for pictures. People think of exoticism as, like, the nice kind of racism, but it's still racism. So the question is it okay to steal someone's community that you're not a part of, basically for the attention?
Right.
And I think the answer is no, because at the end of the day, Hilaria is white.
Yeah.
And she's not getting racially profiled. She's able to participate in the benefits of the culture without having to go through the actual pain that comes with it.
I think she is getting racially profiled, at least by her own words, which we all know how trustworthy those are. But she had said that, you know, people ask if she's a nanny to her kids.
Like when she's out with
Because
them?
when she's out with them, because of her Spanish accent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's no Spanish mothers.
Right? Like, why do people assume that?
I think we're probably the least qualified people to talk about this. But it's tea.
Because we kind of pick and choose what we like from different cultures
Mm-hmm.
and don't just decide like all of it's nice. And even like, I'm going to take it here, but like noses.
Okay.
Where like the perfect nose is a European nose. But like as someone who has kind of a more like, either you could say it's like a Native American nose or like a Middle Eastern nose.
Yeah, I was thinking Israeli.
Yeah, I think it's Native American because that definitely is in.
Yeah.
I'm not faking this. This like this is
Elizabeth Warren.
this is in my DNA. But I'm like an eighth, and then my dad's a quarter, and so I think I got it from him.
Yeah.
But like, it's not the European nose that.
Everyone wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even lips, like
Yeah,
big lips,
true.
like that was not a cool thing until very recently. Thank
Well,
you, Kylie
here's-
Jenner.
That's the thing. It's like Kylie Jenner has no lips. Anyway, this went very deep into racial theory.
Back to Hilaria for a second. A lot of people think that now that it's kind of she's been outed as not from Spain, that they should change all of their kids' names. And also, can you not take a name from a culture because
Right?
you like it for your children? Is that out? I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't heard
this
that
gets
that's
tricky.
out. No
This
one's
gets
told me
tricky.
that's out.
Yeah.
I think people have been trying to do that by changing spelling to make their names more exotic. Why have one vowel when you can have 5?
Right.
I think I think people think that they're boring. Ariana Grande.
Oh, I think I
Interesting.
know where you're going.
You know
with
this?
I think
Okay.
I might.
Okay, what race do you think Ariana Grande is?
I have no idea.
Italian. I think I know this for a fact.
Yeah, she's
actually.
white Italian, but she presents herself as Latina or like Latina black.
Yeah. Wait, really?
If you look at her skin color, her makeup, I mean, she carries a lot
see
of
that.
like black Latina symbols on her
Interesting.
body. And then you look up a picture of her from before she got famous, and she's just like,
Yes, I think I've seen one of those before. Yeah. She looks very different.
she can join the club. Rachel Dolezal and Hilaria Baldwin. The
I think the
Pretenders.
interesting thing about her is she's not claiming it, is she?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I think that's what
Yep.
makes the difference. In this way, there's things where it's like, okay, obvious examples of how not to do this is like Hilaria claiming to be what she is, that other lady, I don't remember what her name
Rachel
was, Rachel
Dolezal.
Dolezal, claiming that. And something like lip fillers, probably not so much. That's my 2 cents.
How do we feel
Interesting.
about fake tan, or is that just low-key blackface?
But that's
Because you're changing your
Yeah,
skin color to look
interesting.
cooler. It's like Coco Chanel went on vacation in 1940, got too much sun, and then everyone thought it was cool.
Uh-huh.
Like that's why we
Oh,
literally
interesting.
Coco Chanel is why we think
Interesting.
tans look good.
Huh.
If you go to Asia, whitening cream is a perfectly legitimate gift to give somebody.
Interesting.
And then everyone started working in factories. So working inside was the new working outside.
Right.
And so if you were pale, it meant you spent all your time inside, and that still means it today, I think.
Yeah, pale's not good in
Yeah.
our culture.
So
and
spray
so-
tanning isn't really a thing over there.
What do you mean? No one wants that.
Interesting. But then also for Ariana Grande, it's like, I think especially in Hollywood or in New York, because I think she lives in New York, I think there's this pressure to look a certain way, which maybe also includes
Yeah.
like fake tanner, because she's not the only one who's doing it. I'm sure the Kardashians are doing it. The only I was about to list off a ton of people, but the first person I was going to say was Taylor Swift, although I don't
She's
actually...
pretty pale.
Yeah, she's just working with
Yeah.
it.
I think the root of probably, I'll give it 80% of these things, but I think a lot of it is about honesty and dishonesty. I think that's why we don't think of spray tans as cultural appropriation, because it's like you can tell when someone has a spray tan.
From what I've heard in other places, American accents are roasted.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's interesting.
It
What do you
hurts
think
to
is the
hear.
cause of that?
the American accent's really flat.
It is boring in
It's very
comparison.
boring.
Which would then kind of wrap around back to Hilaria not
Oh,
wanting
yeah.
to have
I
that.
think Caucasian Americans steal the culture of other people because they subconsciously think they're boring, which is our job to fix.
Someone like Hilaria, it's like no one wants to be labeled as average. And in America, if you're white and you don't have an accent, you're average. As a celebrity, that's especially tough. So it's like maybe that works for a normal person. As a celebrity, you need attention and you need to be noticed.
But you know she's only famous because she's married to Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, no one's like,
Question
oh,
is
Hilaria.
she only married to Alec Baldwin
Oh
because
my
she
God.
pretended to be Spanish?
I thought the question was, is she only married to Alec Baldwin? Like, are there more?
It's like-
I think people would consider themselves a lot less boring if they knew their own heritage.
yeah, I think so.
When you say white, you umbrella all kind of ethnicities.
Yep.
Like,
Yes, yeah.
I
Yes.
tell people I'm Italian, Like, oh, I'm Italian, English.
Right.
Honestly, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
And if everyone can find their own thing, the side of themselves that they're proud about, they wouldn't feel the need to steal other people's identities. Which is basically Hilaria's crime, is she's stealing the identities of other people.
Yeah, I think it's insane to me, and this is a slightly different topic, but it's just insane how quickly, as you jump up to like your mom and dad, your grandmother and grandfather, your great-grandmother and great-grandfather, how everything just goes dark. And how you hardly know anything about where you came from on a regular basis.
Right? Where does it end for us?
I know a little bit about my great-grandfather.
I think
on my dad's side, but again, mom's side too. It's like I don't know as much about.
I think
history
it goes
there.
up to great-great-grandparents for us.
Yeah, and then that's it.
You're right about the whole knowing your heritage. I listened to something recently that was talking about knowing your family's story and knowing the history, and it actually like lowered someone the depression that they would have in their life because it would just
really?
give them,
In
like,
the study?
Yeah, I think it would give them like more sense of purpose and stuff.
I think if you know where you fit in, you have a lot less anxiety. People need stories.
Even if they have to make those up. Hashtag Hilaria.
Listen, like for parents and for grandparents, share your tea with your kids.
Yeah.
Spill the tea so they don't have anxiety. So what's the furthest you've ever gone in faking an identity?
That's a good question.
That one time I was ginger in California.
Were you?
Yeah.
How is that okay?
Interesting.
I wasn't a ginger. I was just... My name is Ginger.
Wait, your name was Ginger?
Yeah. I was at a pancake restaurant alone, and my aunt told me to like fake a name and go in, and I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, Ginger.
First of all, that's so suspicious. I've never heard this story before. I kind of love it. That's really funny.
It's shady.
It felt good. Yeah. And they called my name. They're like, Ginger, and I'm like, oh, that's me.
I was Michael all through college. You guys know that.
I remember that. Internet identity is the most I've ever done. Never gone beyond that.
I pretended to have a British accent in a TGI Fridays for an evening, and it was awful. High-level cringe.
Oh my goodness.
It was really bad.
How's your food? It's alright!
It's true.
Honestly, I feel like anything that happens in TGI Fridays is bad.
And I just remembered, I was also at a Pizza Hut, and I was pretending, this is awful, I was pretending my friend was deaf.
Oh no.
And so whenever the waitress would walk by, we would sign, and then, and then whenever she would ask like a question, this is going to get me destroyed in the deaf community, I would like fake interpret. Yeah, this might get me steamrolled, so I might edit it out.
It's kind of great,
I think that's the worst. I've repented. I've changed my ways, but I think that's the worst I've ever got.
That's really funny.
Alright guys, let us know if there was anything we said that completely offends you in the comments. Or if you want to leave that out, that's fine, and just tell us how good it is.
And if you have any ideas for topics, be sure to leave those in the comments too.
Do you have anything to add?
I got nothing.
That's it. The tea is cold.
The tea's cold.